Excellent. Everybody should do it. So each week we meet on Thursdays. It actually starts in February. The first Thursday in February coming up next month is our first class. In this class, in the afternoon is from 1 to 3. That's for adults. But we also offer a Citizens Academy for our high school students. So the high school students get exposed to law enforcement and what we do to get them interested in becoming law enforcement officers. There's many different disciplines within law enforcement that you can get into. All right, so there's dispatch, there's forensics, there's not only there's computer forensics, there's digital forensics. You could be detective, SWAT, K-9. So they learn all about the different specialty units that we do here between patrol, CID, forensics, finance, HR. It takes a lot of work to get this thing going, to keep this agency running. And yeah, it's a great program. I encourage anybody, if you've already been through it, I encourage you to go through it again, because a lot of things have changed. So,
and
yes.
You said the next class is a week from tomorrow?
Yes. And applications, you can get applications on our website, which is sheriffcitrus.org, www.sheriffcitrus.org. There'll be a thing on there for Citizens Academy. Click on that and the application will be right there. You can sign up. If you have a grandchild or a student that you know, they do get volunteer hours for attending the class. They get 3 hours every week. Okay? So, yes.
We have a speaker here about, we have a speaker here about, she talked about trafficking children.
Human trafficking?
Human trafficking. What are you doing about that?
Okay, so our CID works very closely with our state and federal partners. We don't see a whole lot of human trafficking here in Citrus County. All right, a lot of it is down south in the more populated counties. But we do have a member, our CID, that was part of that task force. So when they do have an operation coming, we do help our state and federal partners with that. Yes. Yes.
You can't ignore ICE and what's going on, and I just drove past a protest this past weekend.
Yes.
I've seen how Sheriff Brady in Polk County is responding to it. It doesn't work, Rosalie. And I've also heard our governor. What is the personal approach, not personal, but what's the official approach in Citrus County where ICE is concerned?
So I'm sorry, Chief, did you want to address that?
I can if you want.
So our official position is we're going to support our federal partners. Okay, they're sworn law enforcement officers. You know, they're enforcing federal law. Okay, if they ask for assistance, we're going to assist them. Okay, do you want to expand on that?
No standing down.
No, ma'am. No, ma'am. I don't think you'll see Sheriff Vincent tell any of these deputies not to help. We're going to help our brothers in blue, and we're going to do it professionally, and we're going to make sure it's done safely. We're very fortunate that we haven't had any issues like that here in Citrus County, knock on wood. All right, but we also agree. Okay, we understand there's people on the other side, and that's okay. It's okay to have a difference of opinion. Okay. If we can just talk about it and have open dialogue and be respectful to one another, you know, you may not change my opinion. I may not change your opinion. But I have enough respect for you to say, okay, if that's what you believe, I respect that, and then we move on. But yeah, we will support our federal partners, absolutely. Chief?
Yep, no, that ties into, if I had maybe 2 or 3 minutes to address a couple of things, I don't know what your timeline is. That ties in exactly with a couple of questions that I was asked when I first came in the door. Maybe didn't want to ask the questions publicly, but you know, the question, the state of Florida and Citrus County will not be Minneapolis or Minnesota or anywhere else. Take that off the radar. That's the number one thing. It's not going to happen here with the leadership at the state level and or locally here with Sheriff Vincent. Now, when it comes to everybody's constitutional rights, the sheriff believes strongly in that everybody has a right to peacefully and professionally, you know, do what they want to do. But it will not be, you know, at the detriment to anybody else, business, personal, or otherwise. And when it comes to public safety, there's no room for anybody, you know, wherever you stand, for any type of, you know, threats to a person. So I just wanted to, that question came up, and it was, the question directly to me was, why how come Sheriff Vincent does not support the federal government and ICE? That was the question I was asked, okay? So bottom line is, the confusion in this question had to do with, you may have seen some recent, press release where the governor was with a couple of the sheriffs around the state, handing them checks for reimbursement in support of ICE. I wanna make sure everybody understands what that means. What that means is these particular sheriffs they run county jails. These jails have supported, housing inmates and others when it comes to, managing some of the, illegal immigrants. Citrus County does not run the county jail. Therefore, there's no, reimbursement mechanism for the sheriff to actually receive funds for that purpose. So the confusion out there is sheriff was not, supporting getting reimbursements. It's just because the sheriff doesn't have the jail. There was no mechanism for reimbursement from the federal government. The sheriff, along with every other 66 sheriff, or all 67, have signed on and have an MOU, an agreement to support ICE and the federal government to take care of business. So to take that off the table, it did come up, and I want to make sure everybody, if they had that misunderstanding, you understand it ties perfectly into that. Any questions on that, or clear? Everybody clear?
Does the sheriff want to take over the jail?
That is not the sheriff's, decision. The jail, Citrus County is the only jail out of all 67 counties that is privately run. That is a decision of the Board of County Commissioners. It's not a
Is
decision
that
for
on
the
their
sheriff.
agenda? Or
That you have to talk to the Board of County Commissioners, and that's something that they would have to make a decision on. The Board of County Commissioners are in a contract with a private company, which is Core Civic right now. So they in turn, take care of that business. The sheriff does nothing other than, transport prisoners and then hand them off to there. So that's a decision that Board of County Commissioners, you'd have to ask them if they entertain.
So from a historical perspective, at one point in time, under Sheriff Dean, yes, we did run the jail. And that was an agreement between the Board of County Commissioners and Sheriff Dean.
Right.
Board asked the sheriff to run the jail. After 1996, the sheriff said, I'm not doing this anymore, and went through the 90-day process, right, and said, you guys are taking the jail back. Said, I'm not doing it anymore. So it went back to the Board of County Commissioners back in 1996. So it's been a hot minute since we've run the jail. Again, it'll be up to the Board of County Commissioners what they want to do with the jail. But as of right now, there's been no conversation about that.
Maybe they should turn it into the dog shelter.
That's a whole nother issue.
That's your Board of County Commissioners, to be able to address that. That's not, on the sheriff's, radar, hasn't been discussed. The other thing I want to address is, talking about traffic, and the sheriff's, agenda and priority to enforce traffic out there. Yeah, that has made a difference when it comes to our crash stat, and then, was also asked to talk about, why, traffic, it used to be all drugs, but, from the experience, in public safety, guess what? Everybody drives, so anything associated with, criminal, illegal activity, people are driving. So the focus on traffic is really, a positive thing, not only for public safety, but it's also a positive thing for, any other criminal, illegal activity that's going on within this county through reasonable suspicion and probable cause to be able to do these traffic stops. Yes, the traffic stops have increased, but there hasn't been any decrease or de-emphasis on illegal drug activity. We still have a problem, with traffic. We have a problem with illegal drug, activity, and it's still being focused on. CID, our Criminal Investigation Division that the Executive Director talked about, they're heavily involved in taking tips and being able to go out and get people that are, dealing and or some using, illegal narcotics in this county. So those go hand in hand. So I just want to make sure everybody understands, yeah, we're doing more traffic, but guess what? We're able to reach out and do a lot more when it comes to not only drugs, but other activities out there. Does that make sense to everybody? Yes, ma'am.
If we have somebody that gets arrested that ends up being an illegal, do you keep them and call
Yes.
ICE?
Yes, so if they have a detainer on it, we have deputies that are trained to enforce the detainer, and then we will call the federal officials, and then we'll hold them, and they'll go ahead and serve the warrant.
Now,
We'll take care
what
of it.
if they have, you've arrested them,
Mhm.
they're in jail for, I don't know, whatever. And then, do you just let them back out on the street if there's no?
If there's a
previous
detainer on,
arrest?
no, if there's a detainer on, then we hold them.
But if there's not a detainer?
If they're not a detainer, then if there's no evidence that they're an illegal alien or not here legally, then we have to, they'll go through the regular bond schedule.
Okay, so when you arrest somebody, you don't know whether they're an American citizen or not?
Oh, we'll run them, we'll run everything, yeah, absolutely, we'll find out, yeah.
And if you
Yeah.
found out, then what's the protocol for them?
Then we contact the federal authorities.
And the sheriff has signed an agreement, you know, and it's called a 287G program. If you want to look up, see what that is in detail. It's actually where we train deputies to go through the process that you're describing. So when they in turn, you know, encounter somebody, you know, that may have a federal detainer, you know, illegal immigration, then there's a process, you know, for the deputies that are trained to actually have a conduit directly to Tampa, which is the closest facility for ICE, and we'll work with them in validating ID, determining, you know, what the next step is. But bottom line is, you know, the sheriff in that agreement states we're not just gonna turn somebody loose until we do the due diligence of making sure that they're not, that they're allowed to be here in this country. If not, we'll hold them. There's a time period by law that we hold them, and we communicate with the federal authorities. And they do make, we do have a few of them that have been in the jail, you know, for other state, you know, charges. Come to find out they've had, you know, detainers holds on them. There is a daily trip that they will get sent to Tampa and get processed out, deported out
So
of the country.
hours
There's been few with us here in Citrus County, but there have been some.
Are they still using alligator Alcatraz at some down there?
Yes.
It's up and operational.
Yeah, okay.
And then there's a
Yes,
new
ma'am.
one up in North Florida, so
That's
the
right.
trend is
Yeah.
still continuing to try to be involved with that. But the bottom line is, you know, Sheriff Vincent is wholeheartedly in support of doing everything we're talking about and supporting the right thing to do. So,
And there's a lot of drugs that get taken off the street just to run in traffic,
Yep.
just from experience. I work narcotics. I worked undercover. So it's very difficult, okay, when you get in. So if I come up to you and say, hey, can you give me $60? Would you give me $60 if I just met you? No, right? So we would have to get to know one another, right? So we'd have to introduce you, or we have to introduce somebody who's a drug dealer to an undercover or a confidential informant, right? Through a confidential informant to gain their trust to be able to sell drugs or buy drugs from them. And I've done that. I bought and sold drugs undercover. Okay, it takes a long time to gain that trust. I can get more drugs off the street from a guy with either a headlight out, a tail light out, a tag light out, because every criminal element has to travel from point A to point B. Okay? So it takes a long time. These undercover operations take a long time, you know, to get the background, to get the trust, and then to get enough probable cause to even get a search warrant to get into it. So you know, the number of traffic stops that have increased has really put a hamper on the drug traffic.
and the last thing I want to bring up, you know, we could stand up here and talk all day and tomorrow if you really wanted to, but that's the great things that are going on in this community. I know you don't want to, so I'm going to shut up in a second, but I want to bring this point in here as we come to me shutting up. Sheriff took office, it's been over a year ago now. You know, you heard Executive Director DeCarlo say the body worn cameras, you know, found money and everything like that. It's not so much found money, it was a reprioritization of the existing funds that were allocated from the Board of County Commissioners. You know, the priorities were to make that happen, to accomplish other different things. So the sheriff was very successful in making sure that we reprioritize things. Number one, public safety, but how do we do that most efficiently and economically? And we were able to find, you know, reprioritize, lessen the priority and make that happen. So that was, you know, the organizational structure, having to correct some things, you know, with the sheriff's vision last budget year. This budget year is getting ready to come up again. So the focus now that the sheriff's going to have is what we were talking about with retention of some of our staff. So you're gonna hear it coming up from the sheriff, different, strategies and visions, of moving into the new year with the new Central Ridge District with all of the growth. And everybody here knows that that's a reality. So how do you get the most bang of our taxpaying dollar, to be able to provide a public safety service out there? So that's what you're gonna hear more from the sheriff coming up when it comes into a transition of a new budget year and communication with the Board of County Commissioners. If you got questions, ask. He's more than happy to talk to you and explain his vision. But it's a work in progress, but it's remarkable the positive things that, the sheriff being a part of this team is very humbling to me, and I'm very proud to be here and stand here with these guys.
And just to add on to that, Chief, the body worn cameras and the deputy sponsorship, all that funding was found within the existing budget that we inherited. We did not go back to the Board of County Commissioners and ask for a penny more. All that money was found within the existing budget. We were able to do that. So which is a huge accomplishment. Yes.
Have you found in Citrus County illegal aliens with CDLs?
I'm not aware. I'm not aware of.
No, we have none that I've seen documented on
Yeah.
that. The ones we've seen that are truly documented were already incarcerated. It gets complicated, but the county jail with the private contractor, they have subcontract with federal government, some other entities to house inmates within the Citrus County jail. And some of those inmates, actually had detainers, so we were involved through that 287G and the training and the agreement the sheriff has with ICE to be able to make sure that the private company doesn't release them, that we facilitate getting them to the right authority so that they can be deported. That's a long answer, but it's not, some things are not just cut and dry.
Yes, ma'am.
There have been so many scams going on, and I really appreciate that sheriff puts in the newspaper to warning us what's going on at the time. So I really want him to know that we appreciate it, keeping us informed.
So that's part of my job is to update our Facebook page, right? And so when we get notifications of any scams or any new scams, we will put that out there. If you're not following us on Facebook, if you're not following us on Facebook, look for the Citrus County Sheriff's Office. You can follow us, okay? Every Friday at 6 o'clock, the sheriff, we drop a short little video, 3-4 minute video. It's called the Weekly Wrap Up. The Weekly Wrap Up. And the sheriff will give you a condensed version of what we did this past week with the number of calls for service, number of traffic stops, number of citations, number of arrests, and he wants to highlight the great work that men and women do in our agency of the arrests that they made, or the encounters that they had, or the accomplishments that they've done. Okay? So if you're not following us on Facebook, please do so. We also have the YouTube channel, so it's on our YouTube. If you go to YouTube, go to Citrus County Sheriff's Office, search it, you'll find it. And every Friday at 6 o'clock, it drops. Yes?
Yeah, I have a couple of things. I'll try to be brief. First of all, I'm really glad you gave us the explanation about where the funds came from, because there was so much contention between the Board of Commissioners and the former sheriff trying to hire this, exorbitant amount of deputies. He doesn't get reelected, and all of a sudden, it seems like all of a sudden, I'm reading in the paper where all of a sudden we're bringing on all these other deputies, and now where's the money coming from? So thank you for that
You're welcome.
explanation.
Yes.
The other thing is, a big bugaboo with me, and it's kind of goes after the whole broken window concept of law enforcement. If you let the little stuff go, it just goes on to
Sure.
bigger stuff. A huge bugaboo with me are these people that get a fluorescent vest, put a laminated picture of a kid over their neck with a string, get a bucket, and stand out in the middle of 19 looking for donations. And because I'm from New York and I got a big mouth and I'm Italian, okay, it just kind of goes off territory. I stopped and asked.
I see you're talking with your hands.
I did,
Yeah, I see
and
that.
I got, on the way down, I always, oh yeah, sure, because you're like the fireman with the boots, oh yeah, absolutely. So I went in, but there was something fishy. So when I came back the other way, now the guy on this corner is coming up to my car. That was filled with grandchildren. Now you're really gonna tick me off if you say something smart to me with my grandkids in the car. And I said, what organization are you collecting this for? And he didn't like to be questioned, the children. I said, can I see your papers? He steps back and he looks at me, he goes, what are you, a Trump supporter?
Are you kidding?
Not kidding. Not. Meanwhile, my daughter who's in the passenger seat is going, "Oh, shut up, Mom, shut up, no, no." You know, so I called the sheriff. And I don't know if they dispersed that or not, but to me, that's a broken window. You start letting those people collect money from honest citizens for all the wrong reasons, where the heck is that money going?
Sure.
So I would like to know if that's anything that the sheriff is aware of and what the protocol is.
Chief, it's not just your pet peeve. I'm sitting in the passenger seat with you in that scenario with that, you know, concern. We'll just leave it at that. It goes a lot of different directions. And I assure you, I've had a conversation with the sheriff exactly about that, and it's a concern of his because of scam, whatever you want to call it.
Yes.
Here's where we're at. There are state statutes, you know, that, you know, prohibit certain things on different highways. There's county roads. So it's something that we're working on.
Okay.
I know that there's been discussion about looking at a county ordinance, you know, when it comes to prohibiting that type of thing. So until there's a mechanism for, you know, the sheriff and the deputies to really go out and enforce something, you know, it's a public safety and there's limitations on how to stop that type of activity. But it is on the radar of the sheriff. I've had that conversation. So within the current laws, it's gonna be enforced the best it can, and there's work that he's already had conversations with to try to figure out how to resolve that. And here's another complicating matter I have to lay into it. I think it's St. John's County. They created an ordinance. If you go and you research that, when it comes to that same scenario, panhandlers, whatever you want to call it, on right-of-ways in public. St. John's County, I think it is, homing to the county. They created an ordinance to prohibit that type of activity. It's been actually in an appeal process to where, you know, it may not be something that is allowable for, you know, I don't want to bring up the concept. There's several issues going on. So it's a complicated matter, but we're on board. We understand. We're sitting in the car with you with that.
Should I
same
still
concern.
call? Should
Call.
when I
If you
see
feel
it?
anytime you
Yes.
feel there's a concern for public safety
Yes.
or somebody trying to take advantage of anybody else, get on the phone. That's what we got there.
Okay.
And if they're being rude or impeding the flow of traffic or anything of that nature,
Call.
or you can just ignore them and drive right by them. You don't have to put your window down. You can just drive by.
Yeah, I would,
His whole attitude changed when I asked him for his
Sure.
credentials. His whole attitude, he
Yeah.
became hostile.
Yeah, because a lot of those organizations will have paperwork or permit per se,
Right.
but a lot of them, they don't. But yeah, it could be,
but just be careful. Be careful. That's all I got to say.
Yeah.
Did you?
Well, I was gonna say that maybe there's an ordinance that they work together to write, but that proper organizations could be permitted to do those things, and then you couldn't do it unless you were permitted. to do so.
Yeah, it's not as clear as we would like to think it would be.
if it was only that easy. Any other questions? I know you guys have a business meeting. I don't want to, yes,
Always, you're not changing subject.
okay.
Okay, I know in the past, and I can't remember how long ago, over a year ago, the sheriff's department actually had basic firearm training
Mhm.
for citizens, and there was a grant. I don't, and just classes filled up immediately.
Yes.
And also, I heard that they had a woman's self-defense, you know, short thing. I'm just wondering if any way, because those are really popular
So-
and.
So we just opened up
Okay.
for the firearms class. Okay, it was on our Facebook page. You can sign up. I think we offered 10 classes. I believe 6 are already full. But we advertised it on our Facebook page that it was going to open up on a certain week, and it dropped at 10 o'clock last Monday, I believe. It opened up, and immediately 3 classes were full.
I better get on Facebook.
Yeah, yeah, but if you go to our webpage, www.sheriffcitrus.org, there'll be, it'll navigate you to where you can sign up for those classes, and it'll let you know if the class is full or not, okay? But
It's
for
very
women's
popular,
self,
very popular.
no, it's just for the firearms. Now, the women's self-defense, at this point in time, we don't offer that. Okay?
And only one other little thing. on, you know, have the sheriff's app or whatever, you
Yes.
know, the alerts and everything, which is really great and helpful. But it would be really nice, we get the traffic, like, stay away from, you know, Croft or whatever, but you never tell us when it's okay to go back over there.
Mhm.
You know, so you look at it, it's like, well, this was at 10 o'clock this morning, is it okay at 1 o'clock?
Right.
I mean, that would be very helpful.
Right, so it is updated through our Facebook page when the lanes become open, okay? But I can look into, yeah, I can look into it and make sure, if it's not tying into the app to say, hey, it's okay, the roadway's clear, that should be an easy fix.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
That's it.
I got one more question.
Yes, ma'am.
We live on the 12th hole, we're in Citrus Hills, and yeah, and they have the 12th hole of a golf course behind us. And a few months ago, there was a creepy guy out there, and he was on a golf course, and he aggravated the people, the dog next to us. And he was saying stuff to people, and everybody was really scared. Do you have jurisdiction to a private golf course?
If
To go out there?
if he's bothering you,
Yeah.
okay, and he's approaching you and you call 911,
Oh,
okay? And we can come into a gated community.
okay.
We can, if there's a call for service, hey, we're looking at a suspicious guy, we'll come
Correctly
there.
outside the gate anyway.
However,
We're on the-
wherever you could be at, we'll come to you.
Yeah.
Normally, we'll come to you, right?
Yeah.
And you can give us a description of what happened, give us what he's looking like, what he's done, and everything, and then they'll go look for him.
I think she called, she was my next door neighbor, I think she called we have a security guy that drives
Right.
around through the POA, and I think she called him and not the sheriff's
Right.
office. The guy disappeared. Apparently, they have, on the golf course, like bathrooms and stuff.
Yes.
And they used to be open,
Mhm.
and locked them, because people were floating around on the
Yeah,
golf
usually they have
course.
codes. I think I've golfed out there. You
Yeah.
have to have a code
Yeah.
to get into the restroom. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
He's probably looking for, cause on the 12, I've lost my ball in the 12 hole too. I can't find it. It goes,
Okay, yeah. We're on the meadow.
We've got time for one more question.
sure,
One more question, anybody?
Don't let us off the hook.
Yeah.
He's good. No tough questions.
Hey, we really appreciate your time. Thank you so much. I think this is awesome. You guys get together and you have these forums. We can have open dialogue and discussion and answer the questions that you may have. Hopefully we've done that, okay? If you belong to any other organization you want us to come speak at, please, we're more than happy to do that. If you want a certain topic, whether it be scams or you want a canine demonstration, you belong to a school organization or Boy Scouts or Girl Scouts, we're more than happy to come and speak to the organization about what we do here at the Sheriff's Office. Okay, so please, it's on the website. Thank you for your time. We really appreciate it. Thank you for lunch.
All that you just said, ditto back to you.
Yeah.
We really appreciate all the information. This is things that we all need to hear, and I'm so glad we have an audience for you today.
Thank you.
We will have a brief meeting. Everyone has the agenda. My vice president is going to let us know what she's been working on speakers for the rest of the year. So, would you like to give us a chat?
Okay, so next month we have Bobby Williams
Do you
running
need
for
the-
governor.
You did-
Next month, we've got Bobby Williams running for governor. In March, we have Matt, the welder. In April, we have James Fishback, also running for governor. And May is for local candidates. And right now, I haven't gone past that to make sure we get all the local candidates. Right now, I've got 3, so if anybody knows of anybody that's running, let me know.
And then we don't meet in the summer, but that, we've got a full schedule up till then. Thank you. We have a treasurer's report. By the way, my treasurer and secretary they've put in a lot of work and time, and they both have very busy schedules, and they would like to be replaced anybody would like to step up to do that. They've been really overdoing their job, and I'd like to make it simpler, so we could get a volunteer to just take notes, and we can have a format for the minutes and just fill in the blanks and just use the agenda for the minutes. She's been fantastic. I've heard people say they felt like they were at the meeting because she was so detailed, but that's not expected, so
I know.
if I can get a replacement for her make it easier for her. And our treasurer, she has done so many more things than just going to the bank and depositing checks. And we just had a meeting and she said, Rosalie, I can continue doing the sign-in and I can continue doing the Christmas luncheon and so the treasurer's job would just be to take the membership checks and deposit them in the bank, because she said she would still do membership, so it would be easier job. So that's why I'm recruiting right now, because what they can't do, I said, I can do it, you know. I've got other organizations which I'm going to have you come and speak to. And Vicki also is very active with the Tallahassee Days, and they went last year and they got an award, and so she's very enthused about that, and she'd like to talk to us about encouraging us to go to Tally Days.
Thank you, Rosalie. I've got my notes up there. Do I need? I'm pretty loud too. Can everybody hear me? As my mother used to say, there's 8 kids on the front porch, the only one she hears is me.
You want to answer? Vicki?
No, not if I don't have. Yeah, going forward, I've got, it echoes. Can you hear me okay? Yeah. Okay, then I won't use it, Rosie, that's the. I had my first meeting last night with the officers of the FCWM, Florida Conservative Women's Network. They're the organization that basically is the umbrella under which we operate. So they do all the legal stuff. They file the taxes. If anything ever came against us in court, they will defend us. They're a wonderful organization of women. They kind of set up the whole structure of how we operate. And once a year, they organize Tally Days up in Tallahassee. And of course, all the legislative, I'm sure Stacey, you're probably very aware of it. So exciting to go up there. Were you just there? Isn't it, there's like a pulse, I don't know how else to describe, but to watch your government at work and actually have your elected officials come in and sit down with you, and you can call them by name, you're on a first name basis with these people, and no one knows their community better than us. We know our community. So it really does open the dialogue. So I am going up. Tally Days is coming up. Anybody that has an interest in going, please see me afterwards and I'll give you the link. We have a special rate that's not very special because legislative days are high priority, and they're very, very well attended. So you're not going to find a hotel room much cheaper than about $200 or $189 for a suite. But it's fun. It's fun to go, and certainly if anybody's interested in going, I'm going, and I'd be happy to kind of walk anyone through it. So Rosalie, yes. I'm sorry. February's 10th and 11th. I'm only going for the one night, which is perfectly fine. So it's February 10th and 11th up in Tallahassee. In addition to Tally Days, they wanted us to do some fundraising. That's all I had to hear. And I was like, I just had to step down from one organization. I was the kid that my mother would volunteer for everything and send me around the neighborhood to collect. I got so burnt out at when I was a child. But this is kind of fun and it's a no-brainer. They're selling hats for the 250th anniversary of our country. And I've got a picture of the hats here, and I think they're kind of cool. And they're only gonna be $15, I'll send them around. And so if anybody is, give me an idea if there's feedback. This particular one, what's nice about it, it's not red, white, and blue. It doesn't scream MAGA, it doesn't scream Republican or whatever. It's simply a celebration acknowledging our 250th birthday. And the secretary of the FCWN said she has 3 men in her life, and they all came in, there was a whole bunch of hats. Which one do you like? All 3 of them like that one, which I wouldn't think with the mauve color they would, but they did. And I think it's because it's embroidered, it's because it's kind of a battered kind of looking hat, it's not one of those that looks like it just, came off the assembly line. So we are gonna be selling them for $15, and certainly a nice way. So if anybody's interested, I'd like to would anybody buy one of those, you think, if we had to sell them? You would, Joycey? Show of hands? Yeah, a couple? Oh, good. Because they're only gonna order 50. And it'd be nice to give to a teenager, somebody in your family, whatever. So I want to be able to go back and report that to them. They're also going to be doing awards for the people that have the most activity. We actually got an award last year because we had, I think, 13 new members last year, which outperformed any of the other smaller groups all around the state. So we got a little award at Tally Days and that recognition. And they were very curious. They said, what do you do? What kind of fundraising? How are you in the community? And Diane and I had to be very honest. We were like, we just bring in gifted speakers, and the gifted speakers bring in everybody else. So that's, one way to get the word out is to host something like this, bring in gifted speakers, and people find that once a month they like to come. It's just a comfortable way of all getting together and showing unity. So we don't look to change that in any way. I'm not gonna be going out on street corners, selling carnations.
Please have a vest though.
Wear
Wear your vest.
Okay, I think,
Please give.
that's all I have, unless anybody else has any questions. The more I get involved in the group, hopefully I can report a little more thoroughly, but I haven't really met with them officially. I've only been in a phone meeting last night, so that's all I had. Any questions?
I was supposed to give this treasurer's report, and my glasses are in the car, and it's such a tiny print.
I know, I'm sorry. Okay, this is for December, so the balance at the end of December in the account was $3,033.97. But that's still, and I don't think the check from Jesse's Place has been cashed yet. We made a donation at our Christmas luncheon of $1,000 to Jesse's Place. And that was through the generosity of all of you and a lot of our other members throughout the whole year. So we were real pleased to be able to do that. And that's the last thing that I always want to bring up is Jesse's Place is the only organization in the community that we actively promote. The boxes on the table, you all know what a worthy thing Jesse's Place is. And so please be generous when you walk out the door. Any other questions? You didn't even ask me that one, I just volunteered it. Thank you.
Thank you, Vicki.
Yes.
I have something. We need to get people to come up with a possible alternative place to hold our meetings. They're wanting us to only have meetings here if we have at least 20 people, and they don't understand that we can't guarantee them 20 people. So if anybody has any ideas where we could meet, same place or same time and everything, but somebody that's got an extra room or something that we could, that they'll close off for us.
What the libraries work
About what?
Would the libraries work?
We talked about that, but I think a lot of people like being able to have something to eat while.
We used to have them at the library, and I was voted against having the library. But you can bring a sandwich you know, at the library, but you won't be, you know, first come served. And I like the library better because you don't have the noise from the kitchen.
The other thing that you recommend where about the library is you could have it, you know, a little later, you could start it at 1, you could eat before, or you could start it earlier and you could go right after. So I mean, you don't have to have the food thing there.
Yeah. And like I said, you can bring a sandwich, you know. I think one time we served cupcakes or something, but, so that is an option if you wanna.
I'm just thinking of the Beverly Hills Community Center. My mahjong group with the garden club got too big, and so they did some investigation, and they let me use it free of charge, on Wednesday.
Oh, on Wednesday. Where is that? I
It's
didn't.
on that little circle there.
In Beverly Hills? Okay, well, appreciate your suggestions and.
Nature Coast Republican Club, I think meets in that white building, the littler white building,
Yeah.
and we pay. I mean, it's like 150 bucks. I mean, there's I don't know, I can't
I don't
remember.
know,
But I know
it's
we
gonna
pay.
cost us more than.
Well, the nice thing about our club, we don't have fundraisers. And, we do, buy lunch for the speakers.
Right.
So, and we are charitable, so, that's what happens with our dues. In fact, half of our dues goes to our mother company. But, that's, one thing, we can't really afford to pay, and the library is, you know, free.
I just wanted to make a suggestion, catalogs in Fernando has expanded, this place, and I know we had the YMCA dinner there, and I don't know if you would be willing to have something once a
The
month.
one in Fernando?
Yeah.
Oh,
I was
that's
thinking
where
of
the
one more
extension
central
store next to it.
camping.
Yeah, because we did have
I mean,
our
it's
meetings in
listening to
Inverness, and it was so noisy.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, because it's not closed off at all. But I have been to the one, in Fernando, I forgot about that. So can we, they have meetings?
We
And
have
when-
the YMCA, community center, private onto the one
So
side.
that
and
is,
then-
Right,
having
yeah.
food though, that would be ordering food.
Yeah, you can order food there.
Yeah, okay. Well, I appreciate all your suggestions, that's a good idea, because sometimes we get together and we think, there's no place, you know, and, you guys brought them up here. I wanted to mention, I can get name tags if anybody's interested. I just found out that the place where I was getting them has sold to another, organization, so I don't know if they still cost $8.50, but, and, we talked about that place. And we have a speaker, so.
January birthdays, Rosalie.
Yeah, do we have any birthday people here?
We do.
Okay. Patricia Adams?
Oh, no, I was thinking
That,
Patricia
that's,
Adams.
Calvin's, is that Calvin's,
No, why?
no? Veronica, she's usually always here.
I know.
And Todd is not here today.
Neither is mine, so I'm sorry, I was thinking, Patricia, I was thinking of you when I saw the name Patricia Adams, not
No.
Patricia Adams, so.
She's Patricia
Not me.
Cohen. She was, were you last month? You were last month. You were on our, list last month.
For birthday.
Birthday.
November's mine.
Oh, November, okay.
Well, happy birthday, wherever you are. So I think we've covered anything. Is there anything that anybody wanted to mention today?
Thank you all for signing my cards. I really appreciate it.
You're welcome.
You're welcome.
You're welcome.
Okay, well, the meeting is adjourned. Very good.
Very good.
This place was kind of good for me.